Diggy Simmons just filed the mother of all lawsuits against Diddy. And he is allegedly the worst and craziest things against Diddy, claiming that Diddy allegedly ruined his life. Y'all remember when Diggy Simmons was on fire and had the whole industry wrapped around his finger? Well, he kind of vanished after that. And after all this time, we're finally getting the scoop on what really went down. Let's just say the reason he left the industry might leave you shook. Did he actually get bullied out? If there was ever an artist everyone was betting on to be the next big thing, it was Diggy Simmons. He had the industry in a chokehold, dropping hit after hit like he didn't even know how to miss. But out of nowhere, he just stepped away from music entirely. And the craziest part, he left right when he was at his peak, like the prime moment in his career, with industry heavyweights backing him. He was set up to be one of the greats. So what really happened to make him walk away from it all? Looks like we finally have the tea on why he took that drastic step. And it is not looking pretty. For a bit of background, Diggy is the son of Joseph Simmons, better known as Run from the legendary hip-hop group Run DMC, plus his uncle is Russell Simmons, the founder of D-Jam Records. So yeah, Diggy was basically raised in the spotlight, surrounded by music royalty. So it's no surprise he ended up in the industry himself. One of his earliest music ventures was joining the group All City Chess Club. This collective had some heavy hitters like Pharrell Williams, J. Cole, and a few other big names. And get this, he was only 15. So his talent was obvious. Sure, being a nepo baby may have opened doors, but his skills were doing the talking. Unfortunately, All City Chess Club didn't last long, breaking up after dropping just one song. Nobody knows exactly why they split. But Diggy's career kept pushing forward. He was already making moves on his own, so the group's end didn't slow him down too much. In 2009, he dropped his first mixtape, The First Flight, when he was just 14 or 15. He wasn't signed at the time, and this was before streaming was big. So he released it on his personal blog, and it blew up almost instantly, being on reality TV. Probably didn't hurt either. Diggy was already familiar to fans from the MTV reality show Run's House, which followed the daily life of Rev Run's family. Anywho, the mixtape got more than 100,000 downloads from his blog, and he became hot cake in the industry because labels were dying to sign him. Speaking in an interview, he said, "The way I started everything was just personal. I was just recording songs by myself, and it escalated to my friends, being like, this stuff is good. Take it serious. So I did. I put some stuff up on YouTube. And this was the blog era, so I just kept making connections and meeting people on Twitter." According to insiders, over 5 record labels were dying to sign him. But DIY eventually went with Atlantic Records, a choice that only fueled his rise. In 2010, he dropped a cover of Nas' iconic track, Made You Look, and it became a massive hit. Even Kanye West and Nas gave it nod of approval. Later that year, he released his second mixtape, Airborne, which was another major success. He followed it up in 2011 with a third mixtape, Past, Present, and Future. And again, he scored big. It seemed like Diggy couldn't miss. Hit after hit was proof he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. In the summer of 2011, he hit the road for Bet's 106 and Parked Closer to My Dreams tour, performing alongside artists like Tyga Mac Miller, Mindless Behavior, and Lil Twist. Clearly loving the tour life, he joined the Scream Next Generation tour that fall, performing with Mindless Behavior, Jacob Luddymore, New Boys, and OMG Girls. He finally released his debut album, Unexpected Arrival, in 2012, and again, another success. The wild part about all this is that Diggy was still a teenager and wasn't even 17 when all this happened. He turned 17 the day after his debut album was released, and it debuted at number 13 on the Billboard Hot 200, and he won an NAACP award and a BET award. He also dabbled into acting, and he's best known for his work on Grownish as Doug. During the height of Diggy Simmons' music career, the pressures he faced went beyond the typical stresses of fame. Sure, fame brings its own challenges, but for Diggy, there was an additional weight that came from being labeled a neo-baby as the son of Rev Run from Run DMC and the nephew of D-Jam Records founder Russell Simmons. Diggy was surrounded by music royalty from the start, However, this connection to hip-hop icons led many to believe that he was only successful because of his family name. Critics argued that, despite rapping about street life themes, Diggy didn't have the so-called street cred necessary for true authenticity because he grew up with privilege. Some felt he hadn't had to work as hard as other emerging artists who fought tooth and nail for every opportunity. Many were convinced that doors opened for him simply because of his family. Diggy tried to brush off the criticism and avoid the Nepo baby conversation altogether, knowing full well what people were saying about him, despite his efforts to stay focused on his music. The negative comments took their toll. Then, without much warning, DY vanished from the music scene. One moment he was at the top, and the next, he was gone, leaving fans and industry insiders wondering what really happened. Although Diggy continued to act, even finding success with a notable role on the hit TV series Granish, his music career was put on indefinite hold. He stayed quiet about the real reason for his departure from music until recently, finally opening up about the pressures that pushed him away. In a candid reveal, Diggy explained that the relentless hate and constant criticism for being a Nepo baby affected him deeply. He admitted that the negativity contributed to him developing obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, as he wrestled with feelings of inadequacy and guilt over his success. In the end, he felt undeserving of the fame and decided to step back to protect his mental health. For Diggy, the criticism became overwhelming, ultimately leading him to walk away from a promising music career. In an Instagram post, he said, I haven't released a music project in 6 years, all due to overthinking my ideas, my OCD being too invested in the unknown, and the fear of an uncertain outcome. For years, I let my irrationalities and negative perceptions of others overcome what I perceived of myself. In an interview, he also said, I always could rap and always liked to rap, but I strayed away from it completely. I didn't want people thinking I was doing this just because of my family. I've been in a time period of self-discovery and just becoming better mentally, coming into myself as an adult. He explains, it's a transitional period, After I released my first album, I had to take that time to myself and at the same time lay low and not overthink the creative process. Sure, Diggy is a Nepo baby, but let's face it, there are two types. Some neo babies seem to ride entirely on their family's name with success that doesn't quite match their talent level. Then there are those who genuinely excel at what they do, and their family connections simply helped open doors rather than carry them through. Let's be honest, most neo babies fall into that first category. They may have the fame, but the talent questionable. We've all seen a few who might fit this description. No names needed, but I'm sure a few come to mind. Diggy, on the other hand, is clearly in that second category. He's talented, and his success speaks for itself. He gained a huge following and found real success as a kid way before adulthood. That doesn't happen just because of a famous last name. While having Rev as a dad surely boosted him, Diggy's skills and work ethic carried him to the top. He wasn't just coasting on his family's legacy or using his connections to keep his career afloat. The music industry has seen plenty of people come and go, but DIY actually brought something valuable to the table with his music style and talent. He was pulling in hits on his own terms, given that it feels unfair that the industry's perception of his background overshadowed his accomplishments. The criticism he faced for being a Nepo baby eventually pushed him out. And it's a shame. It's clear he had much more to offer in the music world, but the constant judgment took a toll. Despite this, he still found success in acting, proving his versatility and talent on the hit series Grownish. If anything, his success as an actor underscores his natural ability. He's clearly more than just his family name. Diggy's story shows that while fame may run in the family, true talent and resilience are what set him apart. But hold up, because the streets are saying some crazy things now. You'd think that with him being Revan's son, he would have some level of protection against the insanity going on in the industry, right? Well, not exactly, because according to an insider, Diddy allegedly tried to turn Dig out, which is the real reason that DIY left the industry. Sadly, the thought of Diddy doing bad things to young men in the industry is no longer shocking, because we have heard so many allegations that it's kind of hard to keep track of everything now. We don't know if Raven knew what was going on at the time and the real reason that Diggy chose to leave. But it's highly unlikely because if there's one thing that we know about Revron, it's that he doesn't play when it comes to family, and he would have turned Diddy every way but loose if he found out that he was trying to mess with his son. Unfortunately, victims don't always speak out, especially when the offender is someone as powerful as Diddy. And it explains why Diggy chose to protect his peace and leave the industry, especially since he was also getting bullied for being a Nepo baby. Y'all, the feds are doing their homework. Big time, and all looks like they're dotting their I's and crossing their teeth. And get this, it's not just about the civil laws that have been filed against them in the past couple of months alone. They're going back more than 20 years in the past to dig out some more victims. Word in the street is that they found a long list of young boys they be allegedly groomed, going back to the 90s and early 2000s, and they pulled up with the receipts. The wild part about here is that Cat Williams has been trying to tell us for the longest time, and it looks like the feds just proved him right. Cat's been in Hollywood for over 30 years, and he's got his ear to the ground, so you know he knows all the dirt on everybody in the industry. But for someone who's been around that long, people always say he should have been way more successful by now, especially since he's got the talent to be a major superstar. But the thing is, his career has probably been held back because he doesn't hold back when it comes to exposing the shady side of Wood. And y'all know how the industry hates when people spill their secrets. But Cat doesn't care, cause he's been out here spilling the ton Diddy's downfall. Let me tell you, it's nesser than we ever could have thought. Cat's out here saying Diddy has allegedly been grooming young artists, and even allegedly uniliving them to keep them from talking. And the craziest part, Cat's been saying this stuff about it for years. People really weren't paying any attention back then. We all heard the rumors about how weird he might be, but we just chalked it up to him being on the down low, lying about it, and ripping off artists by taking credit for their work and not paying them. Those things were shady, definitely, especially the part of him ripping off this artist. But those weren't exactly criminal. Cassie's lawsuits really opened up about a whole new level of mess. But Diddy, she exposed way more than just him being on the download, ripping off his artist. According to her, Diddy allegedly groomed her when she was signed to his label and treated her terribly for 11 whole years. She claimed he would physically hurt her, leaving her bruises all over her body. And even more disturbingly, she said, he allegedly saw her HE her out to male escorts and watched while they did the same. Cassie was a hold to back, and it's only gotten worse from there. And now with all this coming to life, though, people are starting to remember what Cat said about Diddy being, let's say, inappropriate around young people that you catch him drift few years back. Cat also heard that Diddy and Jermaine Diddy were involved in some very mess up stuff with the Criss-Cross boys. Allegedly, one of them turned to drugs to escape and tragically overdosed in 2013. Now, for those of you who might not remember, the Criss-Cross boys, for Chris Kelly and Chris Smith, two young kids who exploded onto the scene in the early 90s and became instant superstars. They were only 12 and 13 years old when they first hit the spotlight, so like many child stars in Hollywood, there's a dark cloud over their rise, and Verse suggested that they were victims of SA. They were discovered by Jermaine Dupri, who helped shape their music careers. But according to Kate, it wasn't just their careers Dupri had a hand in grooming. Criss-Cross dropped 3 albums under Jermaine Dupri's guidance, and all of them with platinum or better. They were insanely successful. But that success came with a heavy toll. Allegedly, both boys were repeatedly assaulted by Jermaine and his close friend Diddy, or Puff Daddy as he was known back then, for Diggy Williams. This alleged SA is what eventually drove Chris Kelly to drugs, as he needed something to numb the pain he felt trapped, knowing that Jermaine and he held his career in their hands, leaving him with no way out. His drug use spiraled over the years, and by 2013 it was too late. Chris was found unconscious at his home in Atlanta and was rushed to the hospital. But tragically, he passed away 3 days later. For the first time, his family publicly acknowledged his struggles, revealing that he had an extensive history of drug use. Then Jermaine Dupri released a statement about how heartbroken he was, and he said to the world Chris was my daddy. but to me, he was a son I never had as much as. You may think I taught him, he taught me. God has blessed me to be in the presence of so many naturally talented people. And Chris was one when I think about it. I spent more time with Chris than dag near anybody in my whole life, so you can imagine how bad this hurts. But as people started to figure out, he didn't even know Chris that well, because he didn't know some basic things about him like his act. Diggy Simmons just filed the mother of all lawsuits against Diddy. And he is allegedly the worst and craziest things against Diddy, claiming that Diddy allegedly ruined his life. Y'all remember when Diggy Simmons was on fire and had the whole industry wrapped around his finger? Well, he kind of vanished after that. And after all this time, we're finally getting the scoop on what really went down. Let's just say the reason he left the industry might leave you shook. Did he actually get bullied out? If there was ever an artist everyone was betting on to be the next big thing, it was Diggy Simmons. He had the industry in a chokehold, dropping hit after hit like he didn't even know how to miss. But out of nowhere, he just stepped away from music entirely. And the craziest part, he left right when he was at his peak, like the prime moment in his career, with industry heavyweights backing him. He was set up to be one of the greats. So what really happened to make him walk away from it all? Looks like we finally have the tea on why he took that drastic step. And it is not looking pretty. For a bit of background, Diggy is the son of Joseph Simmons, better known as Run from the legendary hip-hop group Run DMC, plus his uncle is Russ